The war room of the Galactic Coalition's flagship Harmony had never seen such tension. Representatives from 12 different species sat around the holographic tactical display, their various appendages twitching with anxiety. The projected star map showed the Vorthan Empire's newest stronghold, a fortress world called Kethmori that had already claimed 3 coalition fleets. Admiral Zex Thera, her crystalline carapace reflecting the blue light of the hologram, gestured with one of her 4 arms toward the display. The fortress is impregnable. 47 separate defensive networks, each one capable of obliterating a dreadnought. The asteroid field provides natural cover for their patrol ships, and the gravitational anomalies make conventional approach vectors suicide. Commander Veltaric of the reptilian Saros nodded grimly, his forked tongue tasting the recycled air. Our best strategists have spent 3 cycles analyzing this. Every simulation ends in catastrophic failure. Minimum projected casualties, 80% of any assault force. The assembled War Council murmured their agreement, a cacophony of clicks, hisses, and harmonic tones from a dozen different vocal systems. They had faced the Vorthans before, but never anything like this. The enemy had learned to adapt to coalition tactics, building their defenses specifically to counter every known strategy in their databases. Perhaps we should consider a siege approach, suggested General Morden, his slug-like form glistening under the artificial lights. Starve them out over several standard years. Unacceptable, Admiral Zex Thera replied. They're using Kethmori as a staging ground for attacks on our outer colonies. Every day we delay costs civilian lives. The debate continued for hours, growing more heated as each proposed solution was systematically dismantled by cold mathematical reality. The Vorthans had built the perfect fortress, and the Coalition's greatest military minds could find no way through it. Then the door chimed, and Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen walked in. The human was unremarkable by most galactic standards. Average height, brown hair tied back in a regulation bun, wearing the same gray uniform as everyone else. What made the other species uncomfortable wasn't her appearance, but her reputation. Humans had only joined the Coalition 5 years ago, but their tactical innovations had already become legendary. More troubling to traditional military minds was their tendency to ignore impossible odds entirely. Sorry I'm late, Chen said, sliding into an empty chair. Supply requisition meeting ran long. What are we looking at? Admiral Zexathira's mandibles clicked in irritation. Commander Chen, this is a senior staff meeting. We're discussing strategic options for Kethmori. Right, the fortress world. Chen leaned forward, studying the hologram for perhaps 30 seconds. Nasty setup. When do we need a battle plan? If such a plan were even possible, Commander Veltaric interjected, we would need it within 48 hours to coordinate, with the 6th Fleet's arrival. Got it. Chen stood up, still staring at the display. I'll have something for you in a few hours. The room fell silent. General Morden's eye stalk swiveled to focus on the human. Commander, I don't think you understand the complexity of the situation. Our best minds have been working on this problem for 3 cycles, yeah, I heard. Chen was already moving toward the door. Look, no offense, but you're all thinking about this wrong. Give me until 1300 hours. She left before anyone could respond. Admiral Zexathira's carapace shifted colors, a sign of extreme agitation among her species. The audacity of that creature. Does she think she can solve what our greatest strategists cannot? Commander Veltaric's scales rippled with amusement. Perhaps we should let her try. Human military doctrine is unconventional. At exactly 1300 hours, Commander Chen returned to the war room. The senior staff had reassembled mostly out of curiosity. She carried a data pad and what appeared to be a half-eaten sandwich. Right, she said, activating the holographic display and overlaying new tactical information. Here's how we take Kethmori. The display transformed, showing approach vectors that no sane military mind would consider. Chen's plan called for the fleet to split into 17 separate strike groups, each taking seemingly suicidal routes through the asteroid field and gravitational anomalies. This is madness, Admiral Zexthera protested. "These approach vectors will tear our ships apart." "Only if you try to fight the gravitational forces," Chen replied, taking another bite of her sandwich. "But if you use them." She manipulated the display, showing how the chaotic gravity wells could actually accelerate the strike groups while masking their energy signatures. The Vorthons designed their defenses expecting conventional approaches. They're not scanning the dead zones, because they assume nothing could survive there. General Mordun's eye stalks crossed as he tried to follow the trajectory calculations. "The timing requirements are impossible. The margin for error is approximately 0.3 seconds per strike group," Chen interrupted. "Tight, but doable if you trust your pilots." Commander Veltaric leaned forward, his predator's instincts recognizing something deadly in the plan's apparent chaos. "The 17 groups converge here?" He pointed to a spot barely 50 kilometers from the fortress's primary shields. "Exactly. By the time their sensors pick us up, we'll be inside their minimum engagement range. Their heavy defensive networks can't track targets that close without risking damage to the station itself." The room erupted in discussion as the assembled officers ran quick calculations. What had seemed like madness began to reveal its underlying logic. The human had somehow turned the fortress's greatest strengths into weaknesses. "The casualties," Admiral Zexthera said finally. "What are your projections?" Chen finished her sandwich and consulted her datapad. "Assuming average piloting skills and standard ship configurations, maybe 5% losses, probably less. The real trick is the timing. Everything has to happen simultaneously or they'll adapt their defenses." The silence stretched for nearly a full minute. 5%, General Mordun whispered. "We calculated 80% minimum." "Yeah. Well," Chen shrugged, "you were trying to fight the fortress. I figured it was easier to just ignore it." 3 days later, the Coalition's 6th Fleet executed Chen's battle plan flawlessly. Keth Mori fell in 4 hours and 12 minutes. The Vorthan garrison, confident in their impregnable defenses, never had time to understand what hit them. As Admiral Zexthera watched the Fortress World's surrender broadcast, she found herself reconsidering everything she thought she knew about warfare. The humans had been right about one thing. Sometimes the impossible was just another word for, "No one's tried it yet." Commander Chen, meanwhile, was already back in the war room studying reports of another impossible Vorthon stronghold. She had a reputation to maintain after all, and lunch was still 3 hours away.